What is up, everybody, and welcome back to week 2 of the Aquatica Corals and Custom Aquariums podcast. My name is Broden Mitchell. This is Steve, the owner of Aquatica, and today we are going to be talking about the stuff that we left off on, which is fish. I said we'd talk about fish basically this whole entire podcast, and we're going to start where we left off right away with Australian stripies. If you guys did not see the last episode, go watch it, but if not, I will give you a quick rundown. Australian stripies is a fish that me and Steve don't necessarily agree on, and that is for a simple reason that I believe that they use their natural behaviors, if you will, of eating aptasia in aquariums, which I've never witnessed, by the way. I just have never owned one because I'm scared to, because I know that they are aptasia eaters at a point in their life, but then they grow out of it, and then their main diet is LPS corals or coral polyps, and Steve thinks otherwise. So, Steve, I'll let you recap your side of things, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
Well, what's up, guys? Before I say anything about that, I have the privilege of sitting in front of the show tank right now, which is up and running. And we talked about that last time, that it was about to be going. There's water in it. You can see behind me. Boom, boom, boom. So we're excited about that. Not yet. Oh, come on. Saturday? Let's see. What is today? Today is Thursday. Water went in at like... Oh, you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm going to run to the back real quick, and I'm going to push it up to the front of the tank. You're going to love this. This stupid, but it's awesome. Okay, hold on.
Okay. I hope I can actually tell what this is. God, this video looks like it's filmed on a potato.
Can you see what it is?
No.
No? I'll bring it over to the center.
Dude, I might not be able to tell this is, to be honest. It's kind of washed out. Dude, I don't... Maybe someone else will know what it is. I don't know what it is. You have to tell me. It's too washed out for me.
It's my little floaty diver.
Oh, like a diver? Like a person?
Yeah. So it's got a little air bubble. It's a stupid freshwater thing. Nice. It's got a little stupid air bubble thing.
Shout out freshwater.
And then a little piece of monofilament. And a little plastic diver with a camera going, "Ooh, I'm swimming around. Look at this stuff."
That's funny. Yeah. Oh, I get to see it next week coming home. But
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I just ear raped everybody's ears.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Show Tank is up and running. Oh,
one other thing. So remember at the end of the video we shouted out like Lars and Amy and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did service over at Amy's today, and she's like, make sure to keep shouting me out. So shout out, Amy.
There you go.
That's hilarious. And I will tell you, in regards to the Show Tank, since I'm hijacking the podcast right now, that
in case you wanted to hear about fish this week, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, Dominic, Sean, Lars, Amy, we're here like all day on Saturday watching David and I like grind on the tank. Lars was like in the tank, like helping aquascape it. Amy's like over here, like, oh, put it there. Dude, this whole community vibe on a Saturday with them, it was so rad, dude. So back to my local, loyal customer guys, whatever you want to call it, the Friends of Aquatica. Appreciate you guys being here, adding support, helping out where you guys helped out. So shout out all you guys.
Yeah, shout out, guys. Love our community. It's why we do what we do. If not, we would just close the doors and we'd just have a little fish tank shop for ourselves. Community is what makes it what it is. We don't make enough money to call it a retail store. It's basically just where people come to hang out. And
we gotta stop telling people that, or else they're gonna start worrying that like we're not doing good. Just like and subscribe, we'll be okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, go back to Australian stripies. What benefits do you think they add to your life and your tanks, and denounce my fears of them eating my LPS corals in a certain part of their life cycle?
Okay, so all of my opinion is opinion. and experience based. I covered it last time. I love these fish, so my opinion may be biased based on I'm watching one cruise over in the coral system right now. I love these fish. They're cool little fish that turn into cool big fish. A great personality. You've been in the shop. I've got all these guys trained to come up to the top of the water as soon as I'm there, eat out a hand. I mean, that's super rewarding in the ideology of husbandry with a fish when you have that kind of personal bond with your fish, that kind of relationship. Next, as far as their behavior goes in a community, I've never once seen one be an aggressor. So this is another positive benefit of this fish. They're kind of timid, kind of shy, unless they get used to you. And then once they're involved, like the far tank over there that has the stripey, there's 3 giant monos in there, and the stripey now thinks he's a mono and schools with them. That's so fun to see in your tank, right? Next, way back before they were cool, back really before like it was passed around the internet that they had aptasia abilities. I was aware of that while I was a hobbyist, and I tried it out myself. And I witnessed it firsthand. Voracious, dude. These guys crush aptasia. And with the coral that I was growing was mainly LPS. I never had an issue. I had never even, during that kind of research or the knowledge that I had back then, nobody had ever mentioned that they may or may not eat LPS. And so I never had a problem. Maybe I wasn't actively looking for it, but reviewing like my memories of that time, nothing was missing. And then furthermore, in here, like I said, I have 4 large coral flats, and each one of those coral flats has a giant stripey in it. We're talking to the point of what you're saying, they grow out of it. I don't have aptasia in there, and I don't have any other aptasia predator. And I know that aptasia does pull up sometimes. I'm going to give them the win on that and say they're still doing their job. You're part of this story. You know firsthand that tank and that tank and that tank have acans, hammers, frog spawn, torches, Dunkins, you name it. Everything that they're supposedly supposed to be eating is served up to them as a buffet. They're not doing it. I mean, I'm in that water, every 10 minutes, moving stuff around, looking at stuff. I don't have mysterious things missing, and I definitely don't have signs of damage that you would see from like a fish eating. So I'm not going to disagree that they do it, because the one that's at the far end, the biggest one that I have, was relinquished to me because he was caught eating Dunkins. I have him in with Dunkins. I haven't seen him eating Dunkins, but I think the way that I feed these fish might be the reason I'm getting away with what I'm getting away with. It may or may not be true that they do that. I don't know. All I have is my firsthand experience, and they're not doing it to me. Based on my experience, you don't have to go buy one, but I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. And there's outliers in every community of fish. Like,
well, that was my next thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, at what point, because it's not an uncommon thing for fish with certain natural behaviors to not use those in the aquarium setting, because there's lots of different environmental factors that would affect that. And so how often would you say you see these types of fish not exhibit these behaviors? Like, first thoughts are like some of the more notorious things, like 6-line wrasses being extremely aggressive. Like, when do you see a nice 6-line wrasse? Or butterfly fish picking at corals? Like, when do you see a butterfly fish that's just so uninterested in corals? How often would you say that happens in the fish community?
More often than they're saying that 1 second podcast, come here, say hi, and then say goodbye. Hello.
What's up, Gabe?
What's up? I think Gabe's about to head out. He's grabbing his stuff. It's a live podcast. So anybody want to say hi to Gabe? No, there's
Everybody's
nobody
saying
there.
hi to
We're
Gabe
not
right
live. Everybody's saying hi. What's up, Gabe? Okay. So you're right. More often than not, people have these like detrimental like wives' tales. That wives' tales may be a strong word in this, but they have this like bad reputation.
now.
They have a bad reputation because there's truth behind that. Six line is such a perfect example. Six lines are jerks. Six lines will kill everything. Put the six line in at the end, last fish. Anybody else that's going to go in is going to get murdered. It might be true. I even promote that because I'd rather err on the side of caution. But I have a six line in every single one of these tanks. That's a utilitarian fish with a job to do, and he's pretty. And he's not murdering anything. He's if probably the most descriptive thing I could say about the six lines that I have are they are the shyest, scarediest fish that's in there. They're always hiding. I barely see them. I'm wondering if they're even still in there most of the time. So, yeah.
Well, and I think with that, like you mentioned the feeding part of things and how that maybe can neutralize some things. And I haven't quite found the answer with six line wrasses. I forget the exact. Some people that are listening to this will know, but I forget the exact thing behind six line wrasse aggression. I'm pretty sure they are. I think it's a male thing, and I think that it's when males like. Basically, the craziest part is because you could get a six line wrasse that's perfectly peaceful. When you get it, and it really acts perfect in your tank, and it is very very well mannered fish, and you get it and you're happy, and then one day it could wake up and it could just murk every fish in your tank.
Right.
And that's a common thing, and I forget the exact reason behind that. For some reason, I thought it was a male thing. When they go into like some sort of like heat, they just get really crazy. And I know that it's really hard to tell the difference between the two. So it's kind of like a toss-up, and a lot of people avoid it for that reason. But neutralizing a six-line wrasse, like there's lots of different things you can go about, which is with any fish of that matter that's more aggressive, is adding them last is a big thing. I would say that works a lot of the time, but you could still, like I said, add a six-line wrasse in the end, and it can be perfectly well-mannered, and then one day it wakes up and it decides to kill everything. So that doesn't work all the time. But also keeping things fed is a big thing. Aquascaping correctly is a massive thing, and aquascaping adequately, because there's a new kind of push in the hobby. I don't know if this is necessarily new, but it's a big thing where, and I am a part of this, where you aquascape minimalistically because you like all that open water space. I mean, even the tank behind you is a great example. Like, there's really not that much rock in there for the size of a tank it is, but we appreciate it because we like that arch look and we like the swimming open waterways for the bigger fish that we're going to add. But you really do have to do that strategically so that there's caves and there's hiding spots, because if these fish feel like they can get away, they're not going to turn into like aggressive. Sometimes they will, but for the most part, that also helps. So going about it correctly, adding them at the right time, aquascaping correctly, and feeding them adequately can significantly reduce the outcome of your fish aggression.
You just opened a whole can of worms here that I'm going to be very outspoken about. Okay, so I'm going to use the seahorse tank as like a prime example here, dude.
Got it.
The way that the seahorse tank is aquascaped is for the seahorses. It's not for us. And I think a lot of the time what's missed is you're not premeditated on, not you specifically, but the community is not premeditated on their aquascape for their species. It's and there's issues right there. Okay, so what's going in this tank behind me? You know what's going in this tank.
Yeah, predator fish.
Shout it out.
Which
What
by the way,
specifically are going in there though?
But before I say this, I'm going to touch on what you just said. So a lot of people don't aquascape adequately, and even people that might premeditate don't, and that's because people aquascape for coral. And they're very different things, and I appreciate that side of the hobby. I'm more of a fish guy than a coral guy, but I will say if you're going to aquascape for your acros, and the way you do it is minimalistic and you're going to build up high, or if you aquascape super densely and you have a 300-gallon tank but you fill it to the brim with rock because you're going to cover it in coral, please do not stock it with 18 morged idols or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's an over-exaggeration, but like these fish need to have places to hide. So aquascape for your corals, excuse me, but have a premeditated fish plan because it'll actually be beneficial to the fish when you add them. But yes, we're putting predator fish in there. I'm dying over here, so I'll let you talk about that for a second. I'm going to mute myself.
So I have cryptic zones in there. I have caves. I have voids. I have raceways around the entirety of it for swimming paths and all of this. I've got 2, probably 3 eels that are going into that tank. I built the rock, and I'm going to redo it. I'm not done here. David and I are going to probably tear into it again. It's not exactly what we wanted, but I need caves for my eels. I care how it looks. It needs to represent us, but the priority here is the health of the fish. So there's probably a stingray going in here. There's some snowflakes going in.
Which we've thought about very intensely. We know that they need circular tanks, and don't worry, I'm thinking about this very profusely. I'm a little bit shy of doing it, but we have. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, but it's because I got to say these things. Because for my own sanity, because I don't want people to think that I'm just mindlessly putting a stingray in a tank that I know that it's not going to do well. No. Although I'm not there, me and Steve have talked about this for a long time, and again, there is a complete circle around all this rock work, and a lot of people, I get it. They do better in circular tanks because when they swim around, they don't hit the corners and stuff like that.
That's sharks. That's more sharks. Stingrays are a little bit more leeway. Yes, same behavior, but a little bit more leeway.
But what I will say about that is it's a different story when you have a big enough tank because they have enough space in between the rock work and the tank and the front glass and in between the rock work and the back side of the tank in order to go around and not at the corners.
Also, species is going to matter. Are we putting
have
a giant... No. We're actively researching and looking at dwarf mangrove right now. That's probably where we're going to go.
Cool. I have not heard that yet, but I appreciate that. So I'll look into that. I don't even know. I know what they look like. I've seen it before, but I know nothing about them. So that'll be.
I've been looking hard, and I've got like a 4-inch sand bed right now. There's a purpose behind that too.
Yeah, it's gonna be a badass tank. I'm excited for it.
So that circles back to species specific. If you're gonna build a tank, don't go willy nilly. God, Aquatica does not do that. Let's throw rocks in, let's throw coral in, and then we'll figure it out bumbling down the way. No, why waste the time? And then you're going to be bummed, like my fish died, my other fish killed my other fish because it couldn't hide. All the same thing he's saying.
Well, we also do things quite unprecedented, which is something that
we do.
I've gotten questioned quite a bit because it's like, why the F word do you have a Clarkie clownfish, a maroon clownfish, an Ocellaris clownfish in the same tank?
I'm gonna give us one of these right now, buddy.
My answer to that is I don't know why. I honestly don't. Honestly, that tank is. I didn't order all those fish and put them together. Those fish are rejects. Either their tank mate died and a customer came in and said, tank this. There you go. They said, take this, no pun intended, and take care of it. That's literally every fish in there. And we honestly, at first, they were all accumulated into that tank. And guess why they're able to survive? Because of the rock work and because of the amount of anemones in there. But see, this is the entire thing. If you put a Clarkie clown, a maroon clown, an Ocellaris clown, and all these different clownfish in a 20-gallon tank with rockwork, the Clarkie clown would win, by the way, or maybe the maroon. But we put all these anemones in there. They have adequate place to hide. They literally they swim around each other, but they know that when Mr. Clarkie, the big old Clarkie, goes, get back in your house, he's not getting chased into a corner and ripped apart. He's going into his anemone.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And this is how you do it.
That tank, it's 2 Darwins, maroon and a Clarkie. It also has the rudest damsels that are in there. Though they bite me more than the Clarkie does. I mean, they're the worst. You remember the blue one that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's stocky now, bro. He hurts.
Yeah. Clownfish are the worst.
also, they're getting bigger,
Hmm.
and that tank is in process of expanding once again. I'm shutting down the tide pool. I'm moving all my predators out of the tide pool into the tank behind me to give them
Yeah.
more room, more growth.
Hmm.
And then the tide pool is going to be the new Nem Island, and now the clowns have adequate room. Done.
Which
Easy,
also,
right?
which
Thought
also,
process.
exactly. And you might ask, Stephen Brody, why are you throwing the clownfish in the tide pool? That's a perfect tank to do so many different things with. But honestly, it's the best place to put a bunch of different species of the same fish because of the way it's built. It's like a. Let me get the. One second. Let me get a piece of paper and show. I have to visually say this for order this makes sense. It's like a. I'm gonna totally butcher this, but it's like the shape. It's like a. What would that be, like a half hexagon? So
Yep.
like this is like the front of the tank, and see how it's got
Yep.
all these different angles, and our rock work is like it's like basically throughout this whole thing. And what I'm assuming is going to happen is Mr. Clarkey lives maybe up front here, and then Mr. Austin Miller lives on the side here, and they never see each other. They're not in line of sight. They have to cross this corner to do that, and the second he crosses this corner, Clarkey's going to be like, get away from my house. He's going to allude right back to his place. That is the purpose of that. And with the anemones in that tank, there's going to be no issues at all. Even
Yep,
more than we don't have any
already
issues in the
covered
90 right
that
now.
in the beginning. The reason that this is pulling off, they have all of their anemones. They have their territories. They're happy. They're protected. They fight to the death to keep their territories, but they're chilling. They know their places, and now I'm giving them more place and more anemones. And the carpet nem that's in there started like this big, dude. It's huge, like it's
Hmm.
ridiculous. I want that thing to spread out and be beautiful and grow. And honestly, I might get dragged for this, but I'm putting more clownfish in there.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's not that small of a tank, and especially when we moved to the tide pool. And I think when you struck, I mean, I don't even know if this is. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen clown harems, but it's always just one species. I've
Yep.
never seen anything. Which also, God, I need to touch on this again, please. For the love of God, do not throw 18 maroons in a tank and think you're fine because you have an enemies. Another reason this works the way it does is because fish tend to not be aggressive towards other fish that don't look like them. You see the most aggression in fish like, for example, Zebrasoma, one of the genuses of tang, which is going to include your purple tang, your gem tang, your yellow tang, your scopus tang. They don't do well with each other because they see each other as threats because they look the
Yep.
exact same. Fish don't decipher. I'm not gonna claim to know this for a fact, but they don't decipher color at all or as intensely as we do. So really, shape is the biggest thing for them. Like Steve said earlier, when that stripy schooling with those monos, they like it the same shape. Anyways, if a fish doesn't look like the same shape as itself, it's not going to be as aggressive as it would if it's the same shape. So
Right.
the fact that an Alardi clownfish is more of a circular, like almost more taller
Like
build,
a
if you will.
tomato or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a tomato, and then a oscillator's clownfish is more long and slender. A maroon is more long and thick, and they kind of have these different body shapes. They don't necessarily see each other as threats, so that's a big part that plays into it as well.
But wait, Brody, Zebrasoma, don't you guys have a Zebrasoma blueface koi tang, 3 yellow tangs inside Bob's tank?
Well, yeah, and I do at home too, and I have a Desjardini Red Sea sailfin tang, which is part of the genus Zebrasoma, and a yellow tang, and again, two things. Add them if you want to be safe as hell. Add them at the same time when they are both small and they're around the same size. That is completely safe. But I didn't do that in Bob's tank. Bob had a giant blueface koi tank, and I added 3 baby yellows to his tank. And I didn't do it in my tank either. I had a big Desjardini Red Sea, and I added a small yellow tank. But my tank, that Desjardini, same with Bob's tank, is never going to touch those yellow tanks because they can get up into the rockwork that I built for them, and they can't get picked on. And by that time, they can figure
Okay.
out their surroundings.
Transfers of that, Bob's tank. We added a school of 3 yellow tanks that were small to the giant Zebrasoma.
Yeah.
And we sat there and made sure he didn't kill them. There was a little flexing, I'm the alpha in here. And
Which is
now
normal.
he is, in a weird way, he's like the dad, and those are his kids.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
really, they rolled together. They were cool. We took a risk, but we also had experience, and we know what the hell we're doing with Zebrasoma, and we took an educated gamble, and it worked again, and it's repeatable because you and I continue to do things like this.
yeah, and I have had instances where it doesn't work. For example, I added that yellow tang, and then I was like, well, you know what? I'll add another one because we had another biodeo tang, and so I
He's
added the
right there.
baby. I added the baby, and he actually got picked on by the other baby. And I've had years of experience with this genus, and I know as much as probably any other fish I know about with this genus behavior wise, and it didn't go well. And I removed it the next day. I didn't let it get any worse. So it
And
definitely
it is
doesn't work all
safe
the
and
time.
sound here, guys. It's I'm looking at it right now. Uh, he looks great. He's happy, and him and the stripey are swimming together like buddies right now.
Yeah. So to conclude this part of the podcast, I will say that fish behavior is definitely a real thing, and fish do exhibit their wild behaviors. For example, they do stripies will eat aptasia at time or aptasia. They will eat coral at times. Butterfly fish will pick on acans at times. Tangs will be aggressive at times. Six suns will be aggressive at times. But you can do a lot of things, as we have mentioned, to give yourself your best shot. And a lot of the times that works. And sometimes you'll do everything right and it won't work. And the worst thing at that point,
Yeah.
the worst thing you got to do is just remove it and try again.
Yep.
And if you don't want to try again, get a different fish. So that's going to conclude that part of the podcast. The next thing I want to go into,
Wanted to say one more thing about the
and
stripey.
I knew we weren't going to be done. I knew we weren't going to be done. I was
couldn't.
trying so hard.
I couldn't. I couldn't. So I choose the stripey. What I mean by that is, if I catch my stripey eating Dunkins, I'm gonna pull Dunkins out of there and keep my fish. I
Oh my
swear.
God.
I swear to you.
I know you.
And
I believe you.
Well, that goes further in this conversation about picking these aggressive fish or fish with problems, right? If you're in love with a six-line wrasse, you think it's beautiful. Actually, that's one of my favorite fish. Like, no joke.
Gorgeous wrasse. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I put a six-line in there, and I'm gonna make a choice. If he's not a model citizen, do I want that fish? So that's. Don't be scared, guys. Okay, I heard a bunch of crazy stuff about a six line. Try it out. If
Yeah,
it doesn't work,
do.
pull him
They're
out.
awesome.
Or if it
Yeah.
does work, whatever. I will never be scared of these stripies. And if I need to make an adjustment in my tank and not have Dunkins, then okay, I won't have Dunkins. I'll have the
Yeah.
stripey because that's what I want. And I'm not going to not get him because of that. I'm not going to not get a copper band butterfly because they never live and they do this and they do that. Nah, I want to enjoy this hobby and I want to try it out, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to fight to do it the best way I can. And I will pivot and adjust the way that I am reefing to try and give that animal the best life possible.
Yeah, that's great. That was a good way to end it. And the last thing before we move on is I will say another way you can just simple thing you can avoid a lot of those issues is by getting captive bred fish. A lot of the times where it's possible, captive bred fish obviously are not going to exhibit the most intense parts of their wild instincts and behaviors since they were raised in captivity, and often they are raised in large numbers so they do better with other fish. So that's
I'm
the
gonna
last
have
thing.
to give Biota some serious love, dude. So Lars ordered. You guys all saw the Lars build. You saw the yellow tanks that went into Lars's tank that came from Biota. Lars ordered some fish from a
Don't shout 'em
Google
out, though.
online. I'm not going to say. I'm figuring out the words, but either way, this company fully quarantines and medicates. And if you buy our fish for the extra price, they are perfect, guaranteed, nothing wrong with them. That company. Lars got one fish in from them, and it nuked the tank. Ick everywhere and killed a bunch of stuff. Guess what's still alive and did not get ick? The Biota ones. Get out of here. Good job, Biota. I don't know if that's actually for them, but Bob had a little issue in his tank the other day. Something ripped through there and knocked out a couple fish, killed the swallowtail and the powder blue.
So unfortunate.
Yellow tangs are totally fine. Not a single thing wrong with them. So there you go. Get Biota yellow tangs, guys.
Yeah, Biota's the best to do it as of now. and that's non-contestified. That's not a word. It's not. It's not even contested.
Contestified?
I don't know.
We'll make a shirt. Hey, you guys comment if you want Brody's face on a shirt that says contestified. We'll make it.
There's no way that's a word, right? Contestified. That makes it made sense. Oh wait, contestifying. What is it? It's a noun. It means I don't know. I'm not reading that much. I don't think it's a word. That's not in the dictionary. Before I move on, real quick shameless plug that I don't think will land anywhere, but who knows? Steve mentioned David earlier. Me and David have a crested gecko breeding business, and if you're interested in buying crested geckos, we are launching our first ever drop. It's called a Mystique Exotics. We specialize in extreme harlequins and some tricolor stuff. So if you're interested, you can shoot me a DM on Instagram or Aquatica, and I'll see it there. So little shameless plug real fast.
Another shameless drop. Then, if you're buying Brody's reptiles, well, Aquatica Corals is working with CustomCages.com and offering their reptile cages. So
there you go. So if you're not
beavers,
if you're not a reptile person and you would love to get into the reptile world, crested geckos are a great way to start. Get a crested gecko from Mystique Exotics, and then get a custom cage from Custom Cages, and you'll be all set. You'll love your life. Anyways, let's get back to fish because that's what we're here for. The next thing I want to talk about is our favorite algae-eating fish. And before we talk about this is not scientific. There could be some wild cards here. This is me and Steve's opinion. I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to say what I want to say because I've had experiences with certain fish that maybe nobody else has had, and I'm just going to talk about that. I'll make a video sometime next week about actually scientifically proven algae-eating fish for your aquarium. That's not the place right now. Right now we're talking about fun algae-eating fish.
I'm so excited for this.
Before I say it. No, but best algae-eating fish ever. I'm going to get super close to the mic. Everybody's going to hear me right now. Lawnmower Blenny. Best algae-eating fish by far. Best fish ever. No, you don't even disagree. Such a cool personality. It's a little bit boring looking, but dude, I love best. Oh my God, they're so much fun. And they eat algae like tanks. Don't say saltwater mollies. If you say saltwater mollies, I'm not listening. I'm ending the podcast. Saltwater mollies are not on my list. God, they're so annoying. If you want a molly tank, go freaking set up a freshwater tank. Lawnmower Blennies kill algae like a freaking MFer, and they are super fun to watch around your tank. Super great fish. God, I love them. Cannot say enough about them. Go for it, Steve.
What you might as well kill? Yeah, you might as well kill the podcast right now. Number one, numero uno is saltwater converted molly. A cheap fish, a voracious algae eater will literally strip the rocks of all the garbage that you are not taking care of in your tank. Now, I'm with you on that. It's not a great fish, blah, 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 blah. But
he is true. They're cheap and they eat algae. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, they do a great job.
I'm joking around. They're great.
I'll jump with you with the lawnmower. Lawnmower is a stellar looking fish. Is he going to strip a rock like a saltwater molly? No. Is anybody going to strip a rock like a saltwater molly? No.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, I think that's I think if you're looking for a fish that you're actually going to enjoy watching, don't get a saltwater molly because you're not.
Yes.
For the first 2 weeks of their life and forever, they're just going to live in the top left corner and they'll come down and eat algae at times. But a lawnmower Blenny, he's going to swim around like he owns the place, and he's going to perch up and look at that little like goober face like he doesn't know there's nothing behind those eyes.
Yeah,
there's something going on in the back behind you. Anyways, so yeah, lawnmower, Blenny, saltwater molly, two great fish, especially if you got a smaller tank, dude. Great couple fish.
Let's find out what just happened. Let's bring Ethan on camera real quick. Okay, jump in there, Ethan.
This
Say
is
hi.
Steve's fault. He told me to put all the bristleworms that I find in the invert tank in here. And there were bristleworms in my bucket of sand.
Oh, I can't wait to do a podcast on bristleworms. Oh
my God. We can talk about that in the end.
Yep. Okay. All right.
I've been spiked 2 times.
I'm going to jump back on your fish. I'm going to jump back up on your fish. You ready? Did you say spiked because I'm screaming?
No, I've said I've gotten spiked by bristleworms too many times. I was just talking about what you were talking about.
I think the audio will be fine on the recording, but I totally lost you there. I have no idea what you said.
What did you say?
You cut out. I'm sure it'll be good in the recording, but I have no idea what you just said. You glitched out.
Yeah. Shout out college Wi-Fi. I was just saying how I've gotten spiked by bristleworms a few times. But continue on with what you're saying. We'll get into that later. Most
Okay,
painful recent things.
I think the best algae fish, one of the ones that I try to actively sell to the right environment. I think you know what I'm gonna say. Scopus tang.
Mm-hmm.
Scopus tang. I absolutely love a Scopus tang. That's the poor man's yellow tang. I think they're gorgeous. They're a fair price for the fish. They're the exact same thing. You can go get your designer gem tangs or your black tangs and all the yellow tangs and purples and whatever. I love a Scopus tang. And who else would be on my list?
I will agree with you on that one. But they're also Zebrasoma and tangs in general, besides anything in the bristletooth family, is the most hit or miss fish in the world. You will either get an algae freaking ripper of a fish, or you'll get a fish that's just so entitled that all he wants to eat is the brine shrimp that you hand feed him in front of his face. So that's what I'll have to say about Zebrasoma, which includes Scopus, gem, yellow, all of those. I do think that bristle-tooth hammer. I've never had a bristle-tooth that doesn't eat algae like a freaking pig.
That's true too.
Those fish are incredible at eating algae. So Tomini, Coltang, I think is a part of that. Are they? I thought yellow eye Coltang is in that same classification.
Yeah, I have the whitetail yellow eye in here. Oh,
which are such a gorgeous fish.
Beautiful
fish.
fish. Yep.
Most underrated fish in the freaking hobby. But anyway, so we covered a good fish for smaller tanks. You got your Molly or your Lawnmower Blenny, bigger tanks. Anything in the tang family is a hit or miss, except for bristle-tooth, I would say. Rabbit fish are good for bubble algae, actually.
Sitting here making faces about to jump in. Dude, oh my god, a fox face? Get out of here.
Yeah, they're really good at algae eating. Probably, I would say, much better than tangs are. And although they are venomous, they're a really well-demeanored fish. Like, I honestly have had way less issues with rabbitfish in my lifetime than I have with
You and I both
tanks.
know that I'm in love with the metallic or magnificent foxface. That's like,
they're very beautiful.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's such a stellar fish.
You guys don't know what that is. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Okay, I want to circle onto inverts, dude. Inverts for algae.
We can do that. Okay.
Shout out pincushion urchins.
Oh, urchins in general, yeah. I know. I think everybody, and I do appreciate the emerald crabs, but I'm going to be honest, I've never had an emerald crab that actually ate, maybe bubble algae, and maybe that's what they specify, and so maybe I'm preaching to the choir here, but I really never had an emerald crab give me lasting results. I either put it in because I had a bubble algae issue and it took it out, and then it just kind of either withered up and died, or it made me spend money on it by feeding it. But yeah, urchins of all species are great. I think purple and pink carriers are great. Pink cushions are great. Tuxedos are great. I love them. They look awesome. Everybody loves when people come to their house and go, "Oh my god, you got a freaking urchin in your tank." That's great. And they live for a while, and they do the same work as like 20 turbo snails. So I'm definitely an urchin person.
I have a different opinion on the emeralds, but I have a different experience. I think emerald crabs, you should have like, depending on tank size, so don't drag me, you should have like 4 or 5 in there. And I think they are hard workers. And so when I catch like a rock, so let's just do quick story time. I tear down tanks sometimes, and I'll go get these rocks that have like wigs worth of like somebody took their wig off and put it on the rock. There's so much like hair algae, or it's so bad, right? Mm-hmm. So I love that there's natural biology on there, the biome, the microfauna, whatever you want to call it. And I don't want to ruin that rock, but it's covered in algae, and I don't want to introduce that into my system, right? Dude, I dropped that in the pod on the invert system with the hermit crabs and the emerald crabs, and like in less than a week, the rock is like spotless. And I've actively seen like 5-10 emerald crabs on this rock just doing their little thing, dude, working hard. Yeah, so I love emerald crabs. I love hermit crabs. I love snails, and I love diversity in that. So I'm not naming one creature to go handle your business. When you come in here and you're like, oh, I want to handle stuff, Brody and I will both be on you and be like, let's get you some margs, let's get you some astrea, let's get you some turbos, let's get you an urchin, let's get you some emeralds, let's get you some hermits. Let's bang out like a bunch of different workers to all fit in the cracks or go on the glass or do this or do that, and let them all do their job to help you win that battle.
Yeah. And the last invert I'll say that, God, I love them so much. It's just really hard to say anything about them because they die a lot. But sea hares, oh my God. Any nudibranch at that, but especially sea hares. God, they're so awesome. And I had one, and his name was Kevin. My
Kevin!
my mom's phone wallpaper is literally still him. He was literally my parents' favorite animal in our tank. And he did end up dying, but while he was alive, oh my God, he just did such good work. There was never algae in my tank, and to the point like my mom bought these algae wafers to feed him because she loved him so much.
Yeah.
Like, it was quite heartbreaking that he died, to be honest. But
So
sea hares are great.
we have a baby.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Ethan and I in the nano tank, I'm excited for you to come and see it, dude. It's like the grain, like the size of a grain of a rice. It's getting bigger, but we have this baby sea hare, and he's doing good and he's growing, and you can like come see him on the glass, and like, so I'm amped for you to come see, I don't know, Kevin's child, right?
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, we covered our controversy. We covered algae eating fish. What else
Also,
I wanna
don't
talk
buy
about?
sea hares.
Oh yeah, don't. Yeah,
Don't buy sea hares.
I would steer clear of any fit or any nudibranch if you're just getting them to kill algae. There's so many better options. If you're getting them because you appreciate them, then make an environment that's suitable for them and feed them like we did with algae wafers and stuff. But if you're really just getting it for a pest control, it's not the best option. In the
No,
world.
that's not even really their diet. Like, they're still going to starve and die. And that's one of the things we just don't recommend.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think this is kind of a complicated topic, but we do have quite the experience with it. I want to talk about microfauna eaters, picky eaters. So, mandarin gobies, copper bands, seahorses, anything that is notorious for not eating frozen food well. Because I will say we've had extreme success pushing 100% success rate on fish of that nature. And there's certain techniques we use. Steve will mention his live brine techniques, and then just kind of spot feeding and overfeeding at times. I think that all plays a part. So, phone call. Ethan, time to answer the phone. See, it's always a good day at Aquatica when there's phone calls. But you heard what I said, right?
I did hear what you said. I'm not going to give us 100% success because that's not true.
For the fish that I have had in my possession, which is not as
Fine.
quite.
The
My
fish that
seahorses
we
did
have put in there, it's. I want to say that we don't have 100% success because I don't want to give out information and then people be disappointed when it doesn't work
that's
for
true.
them.
That's
So
fair.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Yeah, you're completely right about. I have a brine trick that is exactly what we did for the seahorses, but it wasn't the only thing that we did. There's copepods, and we have like almost too healthy a culture of live myosis that is reoccurring in the invert system. We have anthropods that are the size of cockroaches. That microfauna is so important. I think microfauna is probably more important than any of the other things you put in your tank.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's a little bit difficult to achieve when you implement things like UV sterilizers, just because they kill a lot of that stuff. But if you're able to achieve it within your own equipment and your tank style, I think that it's important to have a live microfauna population of all sorts, whether that's copepods or any other sort of live microfauna, because it really does. It's not just beneficial for your picky eating fish, but it's beneficial for they're a good cleanup crew. They feed certain picky inverts even, and coral. Coral eats a lot of microfauna. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think having a stable population of that stuff, it's just more natural, and things appreciate when things are more natural. You'll really you'll thank yourself in the long run. And it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen even in a year. It takes a long time for you to be able to establish such a powerful and difficult thing, which is microfauna, because they do call for a very complex and well-kept environment that takes a long time to establish. So
that circles back to the whole, like, maybe not picking out a fish because of like what you heard online. So like a mandarin, I have a torn opinion on this. I maybe don't do a mandarin, but if you want to, then I feel like you can prepare yourself and make your tank available to try a mandarin. Not
100%.
yeah. And that would be, actively dosing pods, getting a culture started. Like if you're going to do a mandarin, maybe get your tank ready over the next 6 months and already establish a mature tank. Maybe start getting it ready by throwing in some different species, like Dinkin's Garden, the Snackle Box. That's like Acropolis. What else? Tigers. It's got a bunch of different ones in there, right? Yeah. Start seeding the tank with pods. Try your hand at hatching some live brine and see how that goes, because that's gonna help you out in this situation. So kind of the same thing Brody's saying, circling back to earlier in the conversation, but and covering like all of this, you can do it, do your research, and then put in the premeditated effort by like getting those things into your tank.
Well, and do it in, I mean, this is not available for everybody, but for most people, I would say, do it in the shadow of your local fish store, especially if they're close to similar, like us. Like, we really do, when someone buys a mandarin goby, we're like, you know what, hit us up in a week and let us know how it's going. And if you need to drop it off here, we got you. Like, no worries. We can hold it for a little bit and get it feeding on certain things. So if that's you, like, certainly do it in the shadow of people that know what they're talking about. Because the last thing we want is for you to be struggling keeping it alive or not being able to feed it and then it dies. Like, we're out there, just take it in for a little bit and kind of show you the ways, or just wait until you get it. And if you're interested in getting a mandarin goby or any fish at that, send us a DM on Instagram or leave a comment and I'll reach out and I'll make sure you get my knowledge and maybe some of Steve's on how to keep them alive or techniques that I've used. I have lots of experience with those types of fish, so we're here to help. And certainly call on your local fish stores too and see what they have to say about it. It could be different, it could be the same. They might have cool techniques that we don't know. So really talk to people about it. Research is great. You can really study front to back on books and videos all you want, but it really comes down to experience, because these fish are so unpredictable. So having those people in your circle when you're trying to do stuff like that is very important.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say a mandarin is for everybody, and I'm going to say a copper band is not for everybody.
Don't get a copper band. Do not get a copper band.
Don't. But, like, it can be done. But don't do it. You know what? I'm just going to say, don't do it. Leave those fish alone.
Don't get copper bands. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not. God, just don't get copper.
I hate the fact that I'm going to really say it. I hate the fact that the thing that gets people attracted to copper bands is the potential to eat Aptasia. Don't buy a copper band because it's going to eat Aptasia. Buy a copper band because you want a copper band and you want to work really hard to be successful for it. But if you buy it for a Aptasia eating thing and it dies, I warned you,
dude. Just go to the Indo-Pacific and swim with them. Don't buy them. Like, seriously, It's not worth it. Like, we've had them in the past because honestly, they're in my top 3 favorite fish, like, of all time. I love them. I wish that they were easier to keep, or even I could somehow, in my brain, justify buying them. But I can't, because, God, just don't get them. That's all I'm going to say. Don't get them. Don't get them for eating Aptasia. Don't get them because they look cool. Avoid them at all costs. Mandarin goby's a different story. I think it can be done very easily, and I think you can do it every single time.
But instead of a mandarin, try out a target. Yep, there it is. You knew it. Hey, he's easier. He's a good eater. He's beautiful, and he's not as delicate as a mandarin is. So try your hand at that and see how it goes. And if you want a butterfly that eats Aptasia, get a Klein's. However, it will eat all your LPS. So fair warning.
Yeah, butterfly fish in general, just an interesting route to go if you're gonna try to eat Aptasia. Like why? Like get a. I'd rather people get stripies before they get any of these butterfly fish because they're so unpredictable.
Yep.
All right. Well, we have 10 minutes before I'm turning this stuff off, so that if my mom's still watching. But I was gonna.
50 minutes. We're doing a whole hour, dude. If you guys are here for a whole hour,
I was gonna say.
Wow. I love you back. I love you back.
If you come in the store at all next week while I'm there and you tell me, well, let me think of a word. If you say the word, this is so funny. If you say the word mandarin goby to me next week in the shop, I'll give you 50% off any coral that you want. If you
I'm gonna back that up. If you're in this podcast, so basically we're telling Amy. And
basically we're telling the people that don't need the discount so they can come get the discount. Oh, that's funny. And my mom.
We're telling me I'm getting 50% off because I'm gonna rewatch the whole podcast. You know.
Yeah.
Oh my
Our
God.
20 viewers. Anyways, I want to end it with a quick little insight into the direction of our content because me and Steve talked about it quite a bit over the past month. Obviously, we had 1,000 on YouTube. Thank you guys. Appreciate that. And we've kind of been stuck for a little bit here because I moved out to college and it's been difficult to figure out how to pass off recording and how we're really going to do the things that we've talked about. Implementing it's a lot harder than thinking it like we did. But I think we're at the spot now where I'm getting ready to start pushing out a lot of really cool content. And I come home next week, so we're going to film a whole bunch while I'm home. So really the future of our content is pretty exciting. But I think that what I'm going to mention is it's going to stay completely with fish. That's obviously we're a fish store. That's what we love to do. But we are going to start implementing some other stuff, some different wildlife, because my dream has always been to be able to just showcase conservation in different ways and almost like an animal planet type thing. I live on a very cool island in the way that we have a bunch of super adapted invasive species, and it's not quite like Florida in the way that they're ripping the ecosystem apart. They're definitely affecting it in a negative way, but they're a little bit more coexisting on this island, and that is a lot of reptiles for what I've been working on recently. Jackson's chameleons, day geckos, even some poison dart frogs that I'm going to see tomorrow. So that's some content that's coming. It's going to be like some wildlife exploration, kind of some insight into that stuff.
So are we going to say like kind of the idea of like, are we going to say the Aquatica TV thing? Are we launching this? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I think we can. I mean, for the two people watching, hi, Mom. I really want, voice crack, nice. I really want to push our channel into a bigger spectrum. I love the saltwater aquarium hobby, and I'm forever going to be a part of it, and that's what this content's going to trend to for the rest of its existence. But the reptile community is going to be a part of it now. I love reptiles almost as much as I love saltwater fish, and so will all the animal community and travel people and all that. I really want to open up the doors to a lot of different people, and I'm going to be doing my end goal is to be making almost these long form documentaries. I'm starting my first one in the wintertime. I'm doing a documentary on invasive reptiles, which is why I'm talking about it right now. I'm going to showcase kind of why they or how they got here and how they've been contributing to local ecosystems. I have a local herpetologist that works with Jackson's chameleons here on the island that's going to be a part of it. And then I also have some local people that are going to provide insight. So that's coming probably next year. It'll take me a while to shoot it and then produce it. But for now, there's going to be lots of short form videos. You're going to see me finding all these animals in like a YouTube video style. Be running around, be like, oh my God, Jackson's chameleon, and we're going to talk about it. It's going to be cool. It's going to be dope. But I really just want people to kind of open up their spectrum. This is going to be much more than just simple YouTube videos. That's how we've gotten here up until this point, but we're really taking this seriously, and we want people to appreciate this as if it's something like Animal Planet. And we've always done that with our tanks. Like it's like we've talked about last week, like we treat our tanks like they're exhibits, and we're treating our YouTube channel like it's a documentary platform. Like we don't take this stuff lightly. So
that's beautiful,
you're gonna see
like an exhibit.
Yeah, you're still gonna see our fun YouTube videos unboxing fish. You're gonna still see me and Steve doing a breakdown and David and Steve doing a breakdown. That's staying. That is forever going to be a thing. We love doing that stuff. But also be ready for some integrations of some wildlife exploration and some super scientific stuff for those people that enjoy it. Because that's what I am passionate about, and that's what I'm going to implement on this platform that I've created for myself. So we are not quite 100% affirmative on the name yet. Aquatica TV has been passed around.
We're thinking about Aquatica TV. What we really want to do is like encompass all of this and add these extra things that like Brody is talking about. Him and I, right before he left to Hawaii, it was like we really want to share everything that he's experiencing over there, and we want to grow this channel, and we want to have this like just like Brody's vision, and it keeps evolving, and him and I are talking about it and figuring it out and whatever it's going to be. But basically I've told Brody a million times, dude, let's share all of that with everybody, and I don't care if it's reptiles on the fish channel, like whatever, let's show our passion, because what makes Brody and I special, why you guys like Brody, why you like us, like me, is the passion that we have behind this. So I could probably show you a passionate video about, you know, chairs or whatever. Maybe that's a little ridiculous, but you know what I mean? Like, you're here for us. So the content is just a bonus. Or yeah. I'm just super, you know, full of myself. I don't know.
No, yeah, I agree. I think I just want, see, this is what I've always thought about with this YouTube channel is how can I add, because obviously people are interested. I grew up watching YouTube all the time. How can I add some sort of value into someone's life through a YouTube video that they're just sitting down and watching, even if it's passive, even if you watch one of our unboxing videos that I actually work on profusely, and you see one of those pop-up tags I do where it tells you a little bit about the fish, and you know a little bit more about that fish, and the next time you go buy it, you know a little bit more. Maybe you don't buy it because you learned something. So how can I do that in a way that's beneficial but also not boring? Because I'm not trying to bore people. I'm not gonna make a documentary that's an hour and a half long and is about a Jackson's chameleon walking through a leaf, and it's the wild Jackson's chameleon is part of. I'm not gonna be doing anything like that, but I am gonna be putting around with interesting people and explaining things that might not be interesting to everybody, but explaining things on a scientific level while also keeping that energetic content form. And I think people are going to really love it. That's obviously coming in the far future, but in the next week, maybe this weekend, it'll be our Sunday video, but at least in the next week, you'll see me searching for dart frogs, and that's pretty cool. Poison dart frogs here in Hawaii. It's an invasive species. Rad. So you'll see that, and that's just a little sneak peek, and I think that's the stuff I want to implement. I know people are going to love it. I love reptiles. Steve loves reptiles. David loves reptiles. My uncle David loves reptiles. Like, it's a thing that these two hobbies are kind of correlated. Hence why custom cages, go get your custom cage, is also a part of custom aquariums. Go get your custom aquarium. It's the thing.
Yeah, but order it through us.
Yeah, don't order it through them. Order it through us. It's a thing, and I really think that there's something there, and I think people will enjoy it. So yes, reptile stuff is coming. Fish stuff is coming. The future of our channel is going to be all types of cool content, exactly how it is now, just more. Nothing's changing. We're just adding stuff.
Brody and I are growing. Aquatica's growing. The YouTube's growing, which means, you know, we're gonna keep trying new things out and implementing new things and seeing where it goes. And so maybe the name changes to Aquatica TV or something like that, or maybe we're adding more content. But I think that all of these things that Brody and I are working on benefit you, the viewer, with diversity. And if you don't like it, then too bad.
Yep. All right. Well, that seems like a good spot to end this week's podcast. If you guys
we're
are
at
enjoying
58 and 34. So
I know, we
have 1 minute? 1 minute to get to the whole 60-minute mark? Because I'm with you on this journey.
I got it. I'm going to end it with some talking. So if you guys have been enjoying these videos, just know that we drop these things every single Saturday at 8 a.m. I'm a little bit iffy on when I'm dropping YouTube videos. I've been testing some things out. So I could stay at Sunday morning, could move to Saturday night, could move to Friday night, who knows. But stay tuned on the weekends for sure for YouTube videos. Right now, it's Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If it changes, I will be sure to let everybody know. I know there's people that expect videos, and then podcasts come out every Saturday at 8 a.m. Well, that's going to do it for this week. This week we talked about fish, all the benefits, and non-benefits to certain fish. And we talked a little bit about the future of our channel, the reptiles, the documentaries, the reefing stuff, all that's to come. Next week I'm coming home, so I'm excited. Me and Steve are going to be shooting some cool content. Lots of new equipment that I got for the cameras that are going to make it some cool stuff. So stay tuned for that. I know there's lots of exciting things that I got to kind of pick back up on and show people. We're going to visit a couple of our old clients' tanks that we've made videos on and kind of give you guys some updates. So that's going to be that. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. You guys doing that helps us keep doing this stuff. And it helps the future of the channel. It really helps us stand on our feet and going. With that being said, guys, thank you for enjoying this week's podcast, and I'll see you guys next week.
Adios, guys.